you are likely to pay extra charges like rent charges, service charge, and just so many other charges. So make sure you look out for that. Service charge. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another one of my educational, informative type of video. Today I'm going to be talking about the process of buying a property. I've been wanting to do this video for so long. In fact, I've recorded it twice, but I just didn't like the way I looked in the video. So I've had to redo it all over again, and I know that a lot of people are going to appreciate this video. Well, I hope so anyway. But let me just do a quick disclaimer. Number one, I don't own my own property yet. Doesn't mean that I don't know how the process works, because it's something that I actually do at work. I do residential and commercial property, and I also do corporate and commercial law. I will buy my own property when the time is right, because really and truly, I'm trying to get a good house. Okay, I know a lot of people in the comment section will try to do the most, but let me just tell you now, if I really wanted to buy a property right now, I really could. Okay, so yeah, I don't need anybody in the comment section to be doing the most. So I'm not gonna do it right now because I'm really enjoying living with my mom, and also living with my mom right now is actually good for my mental health. So yeah, I don't think I could survive living by myself at the moment. I know how to get on the property ladder because it's something that I do at work. Okay, so that's my quick disclaimer, just letting you guys know. So yeah, I'm just gonna give you guys everything that I know about the property process. I'm not gonna give any legal advice. Don't come at me to give you any legal advice. That's not how it works. I'm literally just gonna let you guys know what I know, and everything I'm gonna say is stuff that you can find out online anyway, so it's not gonna be anything new to some people. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. This intro was so long, but I just had to do a quick disclaimer. Okay, I even made notes while I was at work so I could give you guys real proper details, you know. The first thing that you guys need to know is that there are so many different ways of buying a property. Okay, first of all, number one is for an auction. So you can get a property by putting down a deposit for an auction, and literally as soon as the hammer slams, you own the property. And they're usually cheaper as well if you buy a property via auction, because most of them are properties that people want to do up, so they're usually cheaper. You just need to have your deposit at hand, and you need to know that you're going to do up the property. Okay, so number two is that you can buy it outright. So if you have the cash, if you're a straight cash buyer because you have money or some inheritance somewhere, you can buy the property. A lot of people actually do this. So thirdly, you can also buy through a mortgage, so which is what a lot of people do. A mortgage is basically like a loan with the bank, and you have to pay it back, and your monthly payment is your mortgage basically. So another way in which people acquire their property is through shared ownership. This is actually a process that a lot of people use, and a lot of people, you know, they will be like, yeah, but my first property. They don't actually tell you that it's actually a shared ownership property, which means that they don't own 100% of the property. So don't let anybody tension you, and don't let anybody make you feel like you can't achieve what they're achieving. It is very attainable if you actually put your mind to it. They will live in the property, but they only own like a portion of it. So for example, maybe you wanted to buy a property that's worth, I don't know, £500,000, and you know that's 100% what the property is worth. But say you only had money for 50% of that, so you only had a deposit for 50% of that. You can buy 50% of the property and own it along with another company. Basically, a bank or a housing association owns the other portion of the property. It's a really good way to get on the property ladder actually, but a lot of people don't actually tell you about these, so a lot of people don't know about it. But it's actually a way that so many first-time buyers get on the property ladder, and it makes it cheaper for you to save for a deposit, so you have less to save, and also you have, I think you have less mortgage to pay as well. So with shared ownership, you own maybe like 70% of the property, and the housing association owns like the remaining 30%, and you can buy back their portion. It can be long, and also you also have to save up enough to buy their portion as well. I hope that makes sense. That's how shared ownership works. And there's shared equity. Now shared equity, you actually own your property 100%, but the loan, which is the mortgage on the property, is actually shared with like your bank or like Help to Buy scheme, the government. Like the equity on the property is basically shared, and with the Help to Buy one, within 5 years you don't have to pay interest on the loan that you borrow from the government, but after 5 years you have to start paying interest on the loan, but it's such a good way to get on the property ladder. A lot of first-time buyers use it, and I don't think you can register for the Help to Buy ISA anymore. I think the last day to register was last year, 31st of November, I think. Both shared ownership and shared equity, I think they're really good ways to get on the property ladder. You don't need a massive deposit to buy a house. That's one thing I want everybody to understand, okay? Also depends on where you're buying. If you're buying in a city like London, of course it's going to be much more expensive. I think an average 3-bedroom house in London goes from like £500,000. I don't know, somewhere like Birmingham or like Manchester, it's a lot cheaper. Like, you can get a nice 3-bedroom house for like 200,000 basically. Even in Kent, where I live, a nice 3-bedroom house can go between 200,000 to like 400,000, which means you can literally save for like a deposit of like £20,000. And sometimes the bank requires 5% deposit, which means that you can, what's half of 20,000? £10,000 is what you need for a deposit. So don't think that, you know, saving for a house is not attainable. If it is, it just depends on where you are buying your property. You definitely get more for your money if you save for a house outside of London. So I'm going to tell you the different types of property that you can buy in the UK. So you can buy a leasehold property or a freehold property. I'm just going to put it in simple terms. A freehold property is basically a property like a house, basically 1-bedroom house or 2-bedroom house or 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom house. A leasehold property is basically an apartment or a flat, which means they are under a lease, which means that you have a landlord who owns the actual property. You're just leasing a part of his property. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So basically, you know, when you have a block of apartments, the block belongs to the landlord. Each individual flat belongs to the person, and that's a leasehold. So you basically have a lease term running on the lease. This is a lot of legal jargon. With leaseholds, there's always so much more to pay. You are likely to pay extra charges like rent charges, service charge, and just so many other charges, so make sure you look out for that. Service charge is basically for like, you know, the elevator running through to different apartments, the lights in the elevators, stuff like that, obviously for the landlord to keep the apartments running. So yeah, you do have to pay like rent and service charge. I hope that makes sense. And with freehold property, you own everything from, I think they say from like below the ground into the sky or something. I learned that in like first year of uni, so anyone going to study law, that's something that you will learn. But yeah, so that's what freehold means, and that's what leasehold. So now let's move on to the process of actually buying a property. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is save for your mortgage deposit. Okay, so make sure you have at least 5% of the price of the property you want to buy. Okay, so think about what type of property you want. You research different areas and think about where you want to live and where you want to, I don't know, bring up kids, where you want to live with the love of your life forever. So for example, if you wanted to buy a house that's worth £200,000, you would need 95% mortgage and a 5% deposit. So the 5% will be coming from you. So the 5% will be like £10,000, and the 95%, which is £190, that will be coming from your mortgage, which would be with the bank. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah, it's always better to save way more than 5%, because the more your deposit is, the less your mortgage repayments are going to be. The second thing you want to do after saving for a deposit is find out how much the bank can actually borrow you. The amount they can borrow you will depend on your income, your deposit, and your credit score. So make sure you have all those 3 things on point. Okay. Also, when you are saving for a deposit, remember to save for the extra costs. Okay, so like solicitor fees, which is like my fees, honey. I'm joking. So you need to factor in solicitor fees, you need to factor in surveyor fees if you are getting the property surveyed, and you need to factor in estate agent fees. Now you need to be careful with estate agents, because listen, some estate agents will bump you. Like, you need to make sure that you are going with good estate agents that will not charge too much. Okay, stamp duty, land tax is something that you need to bear in mind as well. But I know that stamp duty has been put on hold for now till March, I think, March next year. So if you're looking to buy a property between now and March, you probably won't pay stamp duty. There's first time buyer exemption as well. I'm not going to go into all the legal calculations right now. It's something that I do at work. I don't need to bring it to YouTube, okay? So yeah, you need to factor in all of that. You need to factor in like moving van costs as well. So you're going to be like moving all your stuff. Once you've checked how much you can borrow from the bank, and you've factored in everything that you might need to pay for, then you need to research your chosen area. So you need to check, okay, how much are houses that are next to these people? How much are the people trying to charge too much for their house? Like, you need to think about schools. Are there like schools near the area? Transport links, is it easy to catch the bus? Is it easy to get on the train? Is it a flood zone? Like, do floods happen there often? You need to think about that as well. You need to think about crime levels as well. Like, are people getting burgled all the time in the area? Because you don't want to move in and then 2 months later, every 3 days, you're getting burgled. You don't want that. So you need to factor in all these things and make sure, you know, that the area you want to move into is very safe and very tailored to your needs. Okay, when you're buying a house, it's not something that you want to be asking people all over the place. You need to do your own research because everybody's experience is different. After you've done your research, then the next thing you need to do is apply for a mortgage in principle. A mortgage agreement in principle is basically confirmation from your mortgage lender, which is the bank, that they would be willing to lend you a certain amount in order for you to buy the house. Okay, and the money they're lending you is basically your mortgage that you have to then repay back to them. I hope that makes sense. Okay, after the bank says that, you know what, yeah, we can offer you £190,000 if you have your £10,000 deposit, and you'll be like, okay, cool. After that, you want to register with estate agents. Okay, registering with estate agents should be free. Like, they shouldn't really charge you, so you have to make sure that you're not really going to all these places that will be bumping you for extra money. But actually, it depends. I don't know, like, if I remember correctly, I don't think they actually charge you to register. So yeah, you just register with the estate agents. You tell them exactly what you're looking for, keep in touch with them so that they can, you know, send you different properties that they think may suit your needs. And then after that, you want to start viewing the properties. Make sure you view the property in person. A lot of people will look on like the Rightmove or like Zoopla for properties, and you literally have to look in person to make sure that, like, you need to look out for like cracks in the property, like just little things that you think could have been concealed. Because when you're buying a property, it's just as bad as buying Coke and Fanta from Asda. Because how you see it is how you're going to buy it, basically. And like, once you exchange contracts, it's done. Like, it's a done deal, otherwise you will lose your deposit. So make sure you visit the property and actually check out the property. Look everywhere. Don't let anybody rush you. Look everywhere. Make sure you're satisfied with it. Okay, then the next thing you do is you make an offer. Always make an offer below. Okay, like, they might say, oh, it's 200,000. Make an offer 5,000 below, or 10,000 below, or 15,000 below. A lot of people do that. Okay, don't feel like you have to buy the property at the asking price, basically. So then after that, you apply for the mortgage, call your mortgage company or like a mortgage broker. This is, you know, I have this mortgage in principle ready, I found a house, and we're good to go. Once you've done that, you then find a solicitor. This is where I come in. Actually buying and selling the property is what the solicitors do. A lot of people don't actually know that. Like, you need a solicitor to do the whole process for you, and it usually takes around 8 to 10 weeks. But since COVID, it's been taking a lot longer because a lot of people are not in their offices. It's just been taking a lot longer now. So don't worry if, you know, your solicitor is telling you that it's gonna take up to 12 weeks, because it's literally been taking so long these days. Honestly, we carry out searches, we check the contracts, we deal with the land registry, and pay stamp duty if it's needed. This bit is optional. You can get a surveyor if you want to survey the property. The surveyor basically tells you anything that could be wrong with the property. The solicitor will contact the seller's solicitor, and they will like liaise with each other and go back and forth with each other on like the contracts, the transfer, everything basically. Once that process is done, you don't really have to do too much. Your solicitor would advise you on certain things, and then you sign the contract, and you have to arrange home insurance as well. So you need to check with your bank, see what deals they have, or check with other insurance companies and see what they can give you. So make sure you have home insurance on deck. You need to have the house insured. Buyer and the seller's solicitor, basically we have essentially the same contract and we exchange. Once we exchange the contract, it's a done deal basically. If you try to pull out, you're gonna lose your money, you're gonna lose your deposit basically. It's basically an agreement and it's legally binding. It's done. If you signed it, it's done. We've exchanged contracts, we're good to go. Once exchange happens, that's when you can relax and be like, okay, so the property is basically mine now. I have a contract, the seller's got a contract, we can keep it moving basically. So the process between exchange and completion is basically like the solicitors just finalizing things on your behalf, drafting the SDLT form, just little things that needs to get done. That's basically what happens, and you need to arrange a removal van. By that time, the solicitor will give you a completion date. Completion date is basically the day that you collect your key. You know when people take a picture like, bought my property, moving in, that's the day of completion. So that's the moving day. You get your keys, and from the estate agent tells you this is your key, you know, good luck, congratulations for buying your property, and that's basically how it happens. Most of the paperwork and most of like the actual transaction happens in a law firm. Yeah, that's basically how it happens. I know that a lot of people did not know how the process works. Everything has its own time. Like even if you do move out, if living with your family is bad for your mental health, or like if it's really stressing you out, then you should move out. But if you can hold on, then you should definitely hold on. It just makes it easier, you know. If you think about it, most people now pay the same amount for rent that they would be paying if they just saved enough for a mortgage. So some people even pay more in rent than they would if they just saved for a mortgage, you know. So yeah, I just thought I'll shed light on that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe, guys, and make sure you share this video with your friends and family, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.